Hey everyone, Clawland here, and you are watching another episode of Left Hand Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at the latest release from my buddy Andreas Probst and his Elemental Clash series card game called the Elemental Clash Tribes. Now Tribes is actually several separate sets of cards that you can buy that have something in common. They are all part of a particular tribe. And Andy hasn't released just one Tribes pack or two Tribes pack, but 8 different Tribes packs. So what I'm going to do is go through each one, some of the key abilities that you can find in each one, some of my favorite cards, and then we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to tell you how I think Tribes fits in with the core Elemental Clash game as a whole. So let's check out Elemental Clash Tribes. The first pack we're going to look at is the Elemental Clash Tribal Pack Beastfolk. Now the Beastfolk pack is going to come with 27 all new cards. You can see some of them here. They're all various beasts and similar cards. And the key thing you're going to find with the Beastfolk is that they have breakthrough, which means that any damage that would be excess blocked will instead continue on and attack the opposing player. It also has quick striker, which means their attacks are going to hit first before your opponents. They have slayer, which means they only have to do 1 damage to an opponent's creature, and that creature automatically dies no matter its defense. But then you also have this really cool ability called Tribal Bond. Now Tribal Bond is going to let you bond creatures or join creatures together and combine all their abilities. So here's a couple cards that I really like from this set. First is the Beastfolk Quickbow. This is a earth creature, costs 2 mana, and this has Tribal Bond Beast. So what that basically means is that when this creature and the indicated Tribal Bond creature, in this case a beast, are both coming into play from an element stone stack at the same time, you can join those creatures together and their hit points and their abilities all combine. So this particular one says Tribal Bond Beast, has a ranged attack, and has quick striker. So you can start picking people off with 1 hit point from a distance. Now let's say this was coming into play at the same time as this creature. So they're both coming off your element stone stacks. And this, you can see, is a creature beast warrior, so it does satisfy the Tribal Bond Beast criteria, and this also has Tribal Bond Beast, but pretend we don't care about that right now. But it also has breakthrough. So let's say both these were coming into play, I would join them together, and now you have yourself a 4/5 creature with breakthrough, ranged attack, and quick striker. It's pretty awesome. And you can do this with more than one. You can bond several things together, and you can have several different bonded creatures. And basically, when one of these, when the main creature is killed, of course, they're both put in your archive. Really cool. The next pack we're going to take a look at would be the Sauroids. The Sauroids are a kind of reptilian type. And this pack is going to have 33 cards. They're a desert-dwelling reptilian race of humanoids. They're hard to kill because they have a ability called Respawn. Respawn is really neat because it lets you bring cards that may have been dead back into play. So here's a couple that I really like. One would be the Sauroid Blademaster. Sauroid Blademaster has Quick Striker, which I talked about a minute ago, and it says once during your main phase you may discard 1 card from your hand or put the topmost card from your spellbook into your archive. If you do this, this gets a 2nd attack. So that's really cool. You can attack twice with this guy, and he's got 2/4 power and defense. Now here we see the Sauroid Royal Guard. Now this has breakthrough and respawn, and it says if any creature, any of your unique creatures rather, would be destroyed, you can destroy this guy instead. So he can kind of take the hit because of course he's the Royal Guard. Now the way that respawn works is that if you have a creature with respawn in your archive, you can, during your main phase, discard a creature card from your hand that shares at least 1 type with the respawn creature and take the latter back into your hand. So basically, you would discard either a reptile or a warrior card, and it would allow you to bring the respawn creature back into play. So that's pretty cool. Next, we are going to take a look at the Orcs. The Orc Tribal Pack, as you could assume, comes with many different Orc and related cards. As you can see here, this pack actually contains 36 cards of varying spells, equips, and actual creatures. And one of the main key abilities in this set is going to be Breakthrough. And a Breakthrough, as I mentioned before, allows you to pass any additional unspent damage from a blocking creature onto its the player's owner. Here's a couple cards that I really like in the Orc Tribal Pack here. We have the Orc Berserker. This guy says, once per turn, if this destroyed a creature in battle, you may attack a second time and you can draw a card. So this guy can just keep going a couple times per turn and draw more cards. You get more cards, you get more Berserkers out. So really cool card. I really enjoy that one. And here is an equip spell that I find particularly useful. It says the wielder gets a +2/+0 and has Breakthrough. And if the wielder is an orc, it gets an additional +1/+1, so that would be +3/+1 total. And because this is an entire set of orcs, then it makes it really easy to attach this to people, and it's probably going to be an orc, so you're always going to get that higher benefit. So that's just an interesting way that the tribal packs can work together. They have cards that just build off of each other. Now let's take a look at the Elementals. Elementals is really cool. I love that picture. And in the Elemental pack, you're going to have several new cards of the Elemental type. There's 30 creatures in this deck. They're all Elementals, so they're going to have special abilities. Some of them here you can see are neutrals. So they use neutral energy, which is an interesting concept from some of the previous Elemental Clash add-ons. You're also going to see in these cards, some have Quick Striker, some have Slayer. Slayer, I mentioned before, is 1 damage, can kill any of your opponent's creatures, regardless of the strength. So that's really cool. Especially cool if you have a ranged creature with Slayer. Here's a couple cards that I really like from this pack. We have the Shadow Shifter Elemental. Now this is an elemental creature, and it says elementals can only be blocked by other elementals. So this can be very powerful if your opponent does not have an elemental type deck. Now of course they're really going to want to kill this creature, and he's only a 2/2, but that's a really powerful ability, especially if you can have it out early in and have it out for a couple turns. You can deal some serious damage right off the bat. It's a little expensive for a cost of 3, but it's worth it. And here's another one, the Stormtide Elemental. Now this guy says whenever this or another elemental comes into play, its controller draws 1 card. Whenever an elemental deals damage to a player, its controller draws 1 card. Great way to churn through your deck and get those cards out that you really need. So this is another card that I love to use. Alright, let's move on to the Geldrons. Now this set is one of my favorites. It has some of my favorite artwork in this game. Now the Geldrons are definitely a human species. I'm going to pull them out here. They wear tons of armor. Really cool cards, as you can see. And what's interesting about the Geldron Empire is that in this pack of 36 different cards, you're going to see a couple cool abilities. One is called Charge Attack. Charge Attack basically means when the creature comes into play, it's immediately going to have some beneficial thing that happens having to do with attacking. So instead of having kind of that summoning sickness, it is going to have a charge attack ability. You also are going to see a special ability called Resident. Resident basically says that instead of moving the creature from your element stone stack into play, you can opt to leave it in your element stone stack, and doing that is going to grant you some special resident ability. So here's a couple cards from this pack that I really enjoy. The first we'll see here is the Geldron Stone Sage. This is a 1/3 wizard with resident, and it says move any of your element stones in play to any empty position in your element stone zone or to any position within any of your existing element stone stacks. You can juggle your element stones depending on what you have in your hand that you want to get out. And also it has a play effect, meaning when it's put into play, you get to put up to 2 basic element stones from your hand into play. So again, as long as this guy is sitting on your element stone stack, it's going to have that resident ability. So it just sits there and lets you juggle your element stones around. Now of course he's going to be taking up one of your stacks by staying there, but you'll be able to shuffle around your other stacks. And then this guy is awesome. The Emperor Geldor the 17th. He's a knight creature, 2/5. He's unique, meaning you can only have 1 in your deck. And he has a resident ability that says, search your spellbook for a soldier or knight and put it into your defense zone. Shuffle your spellbook afterwards, and knights and soldiers you control get +2/+2 while this is in your element stone zone. So you're going to have tons and tons of soldiers and knights in this deck. So as long as he's just sitting there kind of overseeing the battle, they're all going to get +2/+2, which is really, really cool. Let me find one with a charge attack here. I didn't really show you that. Here's a good one. The Geldron Air Knight. So this guy is a Knight Griffin creature, and it has a charge attack. So when you're putting this into your attack zone, it says it gets +2/+0 until the end of the turn and can only be blocked by air creatures. So pretty cool. Next we have the Abysslings. The Abysslings are a water type race, as you can see here. They're so cool. The Abysslings attack. Now this is a pretty good sized pack. You're going to get 42 different cards in this pack. The key ability of these guys that you'll find in common is that they have something called Mutate. Mutate basically lets you take a creature from your hand or archive and immediately put it into play if you satisfy the Mutate parameter. So for example, let's take a look at one. So here's an Abyssling Shark Rider. He has Mutate 2. So what that means is that this guy can be in play, but at any time if I have a different level cost 1 or cost 2 creature in my hand, or maybe one that died and sitting in my archive, I can immediately swap those cards out. So this one would go into the archive, and the new creature that would be the mutant would be coming into play where this one left. So that's really cool. But this also has another ability that says can only be blocked by water creatures, and when this is put in your archive from anywhere, the target creature can only be blocked by water creatures until your next turn. So again, you can kind of string this together. So you bring this guy out, then you mutate him, and then since he's going into your archive, you can grant that mutate creature that you just brought out the ability to not be blocked by anything except water. So you can kind of string together these types of attacks and abilities. Now here we have the Benthic Warhulk. This is a 7/7, but he can only enter play through Mutate. So you'd have to have a creature with a Mutate 3 because he costs 3. That wouldn't work with this guy because he only has Mutate 2. But once you get this guy out, he's a monster. 7/7. Crazy. We are on to pack number 7. 7 would be the Dwarves. Now in the Dwarf pack, you're going to get 72 all new cards. 72. This is a huge stack of new cards in this Dwarf Tribal pack. Really, really neat cards. Great artwork. What you're going to find in here is 2 new abilities. One called Delve and one called Construct. Now these kind of abilities are similar in the sense that they allow you to bring cards that are from your archive or from your deck into play. The Delve lets you search your archive for a card of the specified type and has a level equal to or lower than the Delve number and bring it into play, while Construct lets you search your spellbook for a card and bring it into play. So you can see the artwork on these cards is just awesome. So a couple cards from the Dwarf pack that I really like are Dwarven Steam Warrior. You can see that guy here. He's a dwarf creature, 2/4, costs 3, and has the play effect Construct 2. Then you may attach any equipped spell from hand to this immediately. That Construct 2 lets you search your spellbook for a neutral permanent or equipped spell and add it to your hand, and then with the other part of this ability, it says you can immediately bring it from your hand into play. So that's really, really cool to get this guy out and immediately get a card that maybe you haven't drawn yet equipped to him quickly. Then we have the Horn of Summoning. So here's an example of an equipped spell. Now this one costs 3, so I couldn't pull it out because this guy only has a construct 2. But this has a play effect, Delve, creature level 3. So that means that you can search your archive for a card of the creature type level 3 and immediately add that card back to your hand, so you can obviously bring it out at a later time. So almost like a resurrection type ability with this. It also says when the bearer is destroyed, you may put any one creature from your hand into your defense zone. So again, you can bring this out, attach it to a creature with the construct ability, and then when that creature dies, the card that you delved with this can then immediately come into play. Again, really cool way to chain together different abilities in this pack. And last but not least, we have ourselves the Albs. The Albs pack here consists of 51 cards, another big stack. These are all going to be different creatures of the forest and of the woods. Really neat. You have some cool cards in here. Now your Albs are interesting because what you're going to find in here are cards with Breakthrough that we've talked about, cards with Quick Striker, cards with Slayer, and an all-new ability called Transformation. Now Transformation is really, really neat. What it allows you to have is a separate deck of transformation cards. You know they're transformation cards because they have kind of this red background, or red border, and they have a T in their level spot, their cost spot. Now what happens with these transformation cards is they're going to sit in a deck off to the side. Now there's some rules about how many transformation cards you can have, etc., etc. But you'll have your deck of transformation cards off to the side, and they're just going to sit there until their transformation trigger takes effect. And that will allow them to come into play, and never before. And what's really great is when these are killed, they're going to go back to the transformation deck rather than in your archive. So that means you have the ability maybe to bring them back out into play again this round or this game. Here's a couple cards that I really like from the Albs pack. We have the Wood Alb Mounted Archer. He has a ranged attack 1 and Slayer, so he can start picking people off from a distance. Only does 1 attack, but he's got Slayer, so if he does deal that 1 damage, the opposing creature dies. So I love this guy. He's just a jerk move when you bring him out, but he's awesome. I love him. And then we have here one of the transformations that I love. This is the Vengeance of the Woods. He has X4 for his attack and defense, and says transforms from any earth creature. So again, this is going to come over an earth creature, and the transformation trigger is at least one of your basic Venus stones leaves play through an opponent card effect. So if your opponent does something and is a jerk and destroys one of your Venus stones, then you can bring this guy into play and stick him on top of any earth creature. So let's say I had this guy out in play, my opponent destroys one of my Venus stones, this guy's in my transformation deck, I bring him out, boom! He's now covers up the old creature, he's kind of replaced him, and it says now that he's in play, X is equal to the combined number of earth creatures and Venus stones you control. So say 2 or 3 Venus stones, and I had 2 earth creatures, then this guy is going to be a 5/4, etc., etc. Now, as I mentioned earlier, these are kind of together, they're stacked on top of each other, and when this card is sent to your archive or removed from play, then this card is going to go back to the transformation deck, and the original creature that transformed is going to go into your archive as per normal. So there you go. There is your Elemental Clash Tribes packs, Albs, Geldrons, Beastfolk, Orcs, your Abysslings, the Elementals, and the Sauroids. But wait, I have one more for you. I really, really love the transformation guys, but there's not really a whole ton to choose from, and they're only really going to benefit you if you are using the Albs deck or a green or purple type deck. which kind of stinks because what if you really like your fire decks or neutral decks or any other deck? Well, surprise, surprise, there is a 9th pack that Elemental Clash is bringing out, and that is the Elemental Clash Reinforcement Pack Transformations. This, as you can see, is a big fat deck of 51 all new transformation cards. 51 of these guys, all transformations that are going to affect and be able to be melded in with decks of any color, any type. I mean, you got neutral, you got fire, earth, wind, water. I mean, they're all in here. I mean, and look at the art. Ha! This guy's awesome. So you can take these and work them into any deck that you use, which is amazing. So here's a couple of those transformation creatures that I really like. One, again, this is a unique guy, so you can only have one in your deck. It's Finnborg Infuriated. He can only transform from the Finnborg card, and his trigger is an opponent draws their 3rd card outside of draw phase this turn. It's a little tough to get into play, but if you can get him in, he's a 5/5 with immunity to fire, quick striker, and whenever he destroys an opponent creature, its controller must choose one of their element stones and destroy it. Super powerful. Now, tough to get into play, but very powerful. And then we have here the Earthlore Incarnate. This is a transformation creature of the elemental type, and it says transforms from any earth creature, and to trigger it, you have to have returned at least 4 cards from your archive to your spellbook this turn. Again, these different transformation triggers are going to work well in different types of decks. When he comes out, he has Breakthrough, and for each damage dealt to an opponent by Earthlore Incarnate, put the topmost card from your archive under your spellbook. So he kind of continues on that ability of being able to pull cards from your archive and bring them back. So there you go, Elemental Clash. You have 9 packs, 8 tribes, and then of course the one we just looked at, the transformation pack. Tons and tons of cards. I just love the fact that these have all sorts of cards that are similar and build off each other. Really, really cool. So let's wrap it up and I'm going to tell you what I think. Well, if you couldn't already tell from the video, I really like the tribal packs. One of my favorite things to do back when I was playing Magic and when I was playing Pokemon and other collectible card games is that I like to have decks that have all similar types of cards because they all, it feels really cool. Like you have this horde of orcs or this group of knights all coming together. And it just kind of adds to the theme of the game for me. So the fact that Elemental Clash now has a bunch of these individual tribes packs that are going to very easily meld in with some of your existing decks. Because in this game I love water decks. So you have those Abysslings that I can kind of meld in with my existing water decks and kind of enhance them and add more special abilities that are all going to build off of each other and chain together is something I really, really like. Also, the transformations are by far my favorite part of these packs because it almost adds, I don't want to really say like a Euro-y aspect to the game, but it's kind of, instead of just bringing out cards and dealing damage, you're also trying to position cards and have certain instances these triggers take place and manipulate your opponent and manipulate your own deck to have these triggers unfold so that you can bring those cards out. And it's really rewarding when you successfully do that. Maybe you can bait your opponent into doing something like dealing 5 damage, and maybe that's the trigger effect to you. You bring out some little creatures, you attack with them, your opponent thinks, you know, you're an idiot for doing that because he's just going to kill them all, but that lets you, boom, bring out this huge transformation creature because that trigger happened. Also, the being able to meld the cards together with the tribal bond ability is really, really cool. Super powerful if you can manipulate your cards to do that, because cards have to be coming off of your element stones at the exact same time so you can bond them together. That's only really with the Beastfolk tribal pack that we looked at. Maybe in the future they will come out to some of the other ones, but that's a super powerful ability. So your opponent's going to be really scared when he starts seeing those. He's going to be targeting those creatures is on your element stones if possible to get them before you can combine them into this super, like, you know, Voltron monster, Power Rangers super creature. So anyway, really cool. So if you can't already tell, tribal packs are great. It's an awesome addition to the Elemental Clash universe. If you don't have Elemental Clash or you've never played, check out some of my previous videos where I explain how to actually play the game. It is awesome. It is hands down, I say this every video, my favorite collectible card game. And it's not really collectible, it's more like a living card game or expanding card game, because you're not buying boosters. You know exactly what you're getting when you buy the packs, which I like far better. But it is by far the most fun. The rule set is easy to learn and easy to pick up, and it's a ton of fun. Creating the decks is great. The artwork is amazing. It's professional art done by professional artists. And it's just such a fun game to pick up. I mean, Magic I used to play and occasionally play, and this is what this is, of course, Elemental Clash is going to be compared to, or Pokemon, but this is, in my opinion, much more accessible, and overall it's more fun because it's easy to get people that don't play those collectible card games to play it. Because again, easy, the art's fun and easy, the abilities are easy to wrap your hand around, it's easy to build decks, there's so much variability, there's tons of different abilities that you can gradually bring into play as you learn. I can't say enough good things about Elemental Clash. Check out these Tribes packs, they're going to be up for sale very soon if they're not already. They are through the Game Crafter. Just check out elementalclash.com and I'm sure you'll have all the info you need. So thanks for watching Left Hand Reviews. Make sure to check out Elemental Clash. Make sure to check me out on Twitter and Facebook and my website lefthandreviews.com. And thanks for watching.